Hi, my name is Calvin Pierce, and welcome to my Comp 3097 Lab Exercise 8. In this lab, we are taking what we did in Lab Exercise 7, which you can see in one of my previous videos, and we're changing the functionality from static data to have a database using dynamic data, more specifically using SQLite. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So the main change that we have right here in our file structure is we deleted the entire task structure. With that, we were using it just to display each task last time in the list. However, we moved that functionality into our homepage.html, thus making it obsolete, so we were just okay to delete it. And then, with that being said, I'll show you the main changes. I'll start off in our data.service.typescript. So, if you remember from our last one, sorry, my computer's just being really slow, but I promise we'll get through it. In our last video, we had our task class at the top of here inside of our data service. We actually just made it its own class right there. I'll show it to you really quick. As you can see, it's the exact same thing, just inside of its own file right there. So what we do is we have a couple more imports here, mainly our SQLite imports and our HTTP client, and that is just for our form and for our database. So what we do is we set up our database up at the top here with our storage SQLite, and then we have our list, and we have our constructor, which takes our SQLite declarations, and we go on for more. So you can see we call our init function when we load in our app, and what it does is it takes our database, this is what I named it, lab8_database.db, and what it'll do is it gets the storage, our SQLite object, and it tries to select all, and if it doesn't have any rows that it returns inside of the response, it'll get the fake data from our dump.sql, which I will show in a second. We have our database state, which basically says if it's working. So we set it to true after we get our task, and we set it to true after we get our fake data, you can see over here. And then we have our fetch task, which allows us to loop through our tasks. And then we have our actual accessibility functions, I guess is what I like to call them. So we have our get task, which gets them inside of our list. We select all from our task table, which we set up inside of our dump.sql. And we take the ID, title, and details, and we just put it inside of a task list. So you can see here, which we declared up at the top. And then we have our add task, which takes in two parameters, title and details, which we will get from our form, and it inserts it using our SQL insert statement right here. We have our get task by ID, which gets the ID in the parameter and returns a single value of our task from our database. And then we have our delete task with the ID as parameter being used to find the task to delete. So I'll show you the dump.sql file. So what we do is we create the table if it doesn't exist. We have our three keys, as you can see, it's the same from the task there. We have our D, title, and details, and a couple just filler sample tasks just to populate the database to start off. And now we'll go to our home.module.typescript. I believe we used to have our task inside of our import here, our task module. You can just delete that because we no longer used it. And inside of our homepage.typescript file, let me just scroll up to the top. We pretty much take advantage of all of the services we declared in our data.service.typescript file. So we need our form, and we just have a sample data right there that just loads in case our database can't load. And then we need our form imports up here because we also have our form to add tasks on side of our homepage. So when it loads up on init, what it says is it'll fetch all the tasks and it'll display the DB loaded message if it loads correctly. Otherwise, it'll say, hey, the response is empty, which just means there was an error and the database could not load correctly. And then it'll set the form up at the top. It'll set the default values in it just to nothing, just so it's an empty form. The user can add whatever they want. And then store data, this is called when we submit our data from our form. As you can see, it goes, provides updates for the user with that, and then it says, okay, we're going to add task, getting the title and the details from the form. Those are just the form names. And then it's going to reset our form back to the empty strings. And then delete task, we're getting the ID, and once again, we're just calling it from our data.service and displaying the task.delete message for the user. So with that being said, I'll show you how it's running. I have it running on an Android emulator already. I can just get it up for you guys. And the way you want to do that is in the terminal, you would do ionic cap run Android, just as I have typed down there. I already ran it, so I'm not going to run it again. And if it's your first time running, it'll create this Android folder to which you'll have to add this local.properties file, and inside you'll have to add this right here, with this string being wherever your Android SDK variable is from your computer's environment variables. You can feel free to Google that if you need explanation on how to do that. And you might need to be on Java 15 rather than Java 16 in order for it to actually work. With that being said, let's show you the actual use of the app. So it'll load up, and this is just our home page right here. We have our task title and our task details from our form, to which we can just say we want a new task, and we're going to add the task. And there we go. As you can see, it's just down there at the bottom, new task. These are some of our sample tasks. We can delete all we want. Task deleted, as you can see. And we're say, hey, we want to view task 2. We'll click that button right there. And this is the title and the details as follows. Our back button will get us back to there. And I'll just, sorry, the phone's being really slow, so just bear with me here. We want to swipe that app away. And we want to just load it right back up just to show you guys that the data is saving correctly. It's just a little test you can do on your own. And it will show the tasks that we haven't deleted whenever it wants to run. It'll show the tasks that we haven't deleted alongside the tasks that we created. Here we go. So we can see we deleted task 1, so it's no longer there. This was a task that I added beforehand just to make sure it worked.